If you're a wholesaler, inevitably you're going to find houses that have serious issues or are really big rehab projects. Those types of properties can be difficult to wholesale, so on today's video, using a real live deal I'm currently wholesaling as a case study, get ready to learn exactly how to wholesale a house with big problems coming up.
This video is brought to you by Flipster, the nation's #1 real estate software, with tools for finding, funding, and flipping houses. Check it out now at getflipster.com.
If you're new here to this channel, I'm Jerry Norton with flippingmastery.com, and this channel is all about ways to help you make money flipping real estate so you can live your dream life. Be sure to subscribe and turn on the bell notifications so you don't miss new videos. Recently, I did a video where I showed how I virtually found, analyzed, and secured the contract with a seller in a total of 20 minutes without ever seeing the property. Now, if you recall, the seller was asking $180,000. I offered $160,000 cash, and they took it. By the way, if you missed that video or need a refresher, be sure to check it out. I'll put the link in the description below for you. And if you want to know how I found that awesome deal, I found it using a software tool that I created that finds all of the underpriced properties for sale in any given area. And I'll give this to you for free. For an unrestricted login, just go to mydatacruncher.com. Well, on this part 2 video, I want to share the next phase of the deal. Now, while this house is in a very desirable neighborhood, the house was built in 1860 and needs an extensive rehab and also has some serious issues. Since my intent was to wholesale this house, and due to the extensive rehab and all the problems, my pool of possible cash buyers will be limited to just experienced flippers. In fact, later when I put my deal out there to cash buyers, several less experienced flippers were initially interested and then quickly became overwhelmed by the size and issues of the rehab and then backed away. Knowing this, if you get a property that has problems or is a huge rehab, you have to approach how you wholesale it very differently than a simple carpet and paint type of rehab deal. Now, using my deal as a case study, let me show you my 4-step process to wholesale a house with big problems so you can do the same. Step 1 is to get an inspection clause in your contract. Now, I try to do this anyways. Tell the seller that due to the extent of work needed, you're going to need a window of time to perform due diligence and get bids from contractors to verify you can fix the problems or do all of the work within your rehab budget. Now, I typically ask for 10 days, and that's exactly what I did on my deal. At the time of executing the contract, I had not personally seen this property or even sent anyone to look at it yet. That means I had a full 10 days to perform any due diligence, after which my earnest money would become non-refundable. Now, one other thing worth mentioning about my contract with the seller was that I included a stipulation that the seller agreed to give me permission to have unrestricted access to the property via a contractor's lockbox. In other words, since the property was vacant, I could go in the property anytime I wanted. Now, this is critical when wholesaling or flipping so that you can get bids from contractors and get your cash buyers in the property without having to get the seller or agent to get you in the property every time. You'll see later why that was so significant, so keep watching. Step number 2 is to get written bids to solve the big issues. Whenever wholesaling a big rehab or a house with problems, you have to grab the bull by the horns and proactively find the big issues because your buyers are going to find the big issues. Now, I call this overcoming objections before they arise. That way, when you talk to your cash buyers, you have answers and solutions for all of their concerns. Never forget, the more problems you solve as a wholesaler, the easier you make it for your cash buyers to buy your deals and the more money you'll make. You'll see what I mean in a minute. Big issues might be homes gutted down to the studs or fire damage or mold, things that might be intimidating to a flipper. On my deal, since it was on market and since I was double dipping with the listing agent, which means she's representing both the seller and me and is earning a full 6% commission, she was more than eager to help me get a handle on the issues. Now, I wasn't worried about normal rehab stuff, but there were 2 big issues I had to address. Let's start with the first issue, which was a foundation problem. Now, this was obvious to the visible eye, and foundation problems can really scare away cash buyers. It's the fear of the unknown. So I needed to find out how to fix it and how much it would cost. So I got the agent to get a structural engineer to visit the property and write a report on how to properly repair it. And then once we had that, the agent got a basement repair specialist to give a written quote, which came to $8,800. The second big issue to figure out was not having enough bathrooms. Now in this neighborhood, in order to sell a rehab for top dollar, retail buyers require a 2.5 bath home, and my house only had 1 bath. So a flipper would need to add a full bath and a half bath as part of his rehab. Since that's a big unknown, I needed to figure out if that was possible so that I could provide that info to a potential cash buyer. So I had the agent get bids from contractors who confirmed that you could add a full bath in the master and a half bath on the main floor, and also provided written bids to do it. Step 3 is to move forward on the deal if you feel good about everything, or renegotiate the price if the new information from your due diligence changes the price you can pay for your deal. On my deal, once I had all of the answers to my 2 big issues, and just prior to the end of my due diligence, I realized I needed to get the deal for less than $160,000. I went back to the agent, and using all of the information I had gathered and using the issues as leverage, I told the agent the extent of work and the cost to solve the 2 big issues was more than I originally anticipated, and as such, I needed a price reduction of $20,000 from $160,000 to $140,000 in order to move forward on the deal. Now, if the seller decides not to give you any price reduction, simply use my termination of contract addendum that cancels the contract and returns the earnest money. And if the seller does agree to the price reduction, simply use my price reduction addendum. Now the seller signs, and then the addendum is attached to the original purchase and sale agreement as the new adjusted price. And if you'd like my termination of contract and price reduction addendums for free, just leave a comment and say, Jerry, you are a flipping genius. Give me those addendums and I'll give you the download links. Now, a key takeaway to getting a price reduction is to have a logical and compelling reason. If I would have just asked for a reduction without any justification, my chances of getting it would be slim to none. So to recap, I went from a $180,000 list price to a $160,000 accepted offer to now a revised price of $140,000. Okay, step 4 is to use the due diligence information you gathered to help interested cash buyers feel good about your deal. Once I took my deal to cash buyers, I immediately brought up the issues before they knew they were issues, as well as what I did to find the solutions, and then I emailed them everything before they even looked at it. Not only does this help them feel good about the deal, but also helps them feel good about me, and people do business with people they like and trust. Now, just like I anticipated, even with finding the solutions for the big issues, it was still too big of a project for most flippers. But then I found a flipper who had experience doing big rehabs, and he was extremely appreciative of the information I gathered and was not intimidated by the scope of the project or solving the issues. And I know that by providing him the solutions to the problems, it really helped him make the decision to move forward and buy my deal. In fact, after looking at it, he decided that he didn't need any due diligence time to figure out the problems since I already did that for him. Now, a lot of things happened from the moment when I got the price reduction to securing my buyer to closing on the deal. If you'd like me to do another video and show the challenges that came up, how I handled them, and how I closed on the deal and my exact profit on the deal, leave a comment and let me know. I'll put all of the videos on this deal into a playlist for you, and I'll put the link to that playlist in the description below. And if you haven't yet, be sure to subscribe to my channel with over 550 videos. This is the #1 channel on YouTube for all things wholesaling and flipping, and I'll see you on the next video.